I have to say, Roger was pretty passionate about poker and his business, and he was the reason why Stone's Live Poker started. But he was kind of weak with how slimy he was. He did portray himself as this uber conservative guy and strong Christian, but, he kind of acted the opposite of that. And he was a bit of a degenerate gambler, aren't we all? And sometimes a drunk. Once the live stream was up and running, it wasn't long before Roger started power tripping. He would often want to meet with me and Jake before the live stream and ask me what I would do if he told me that I couldn't talk about poker at all. And I remember just looking at him and being so confused with that question. I'm on a poker TV show. Why would I not talk about poker? It felt like he wanted to just push the threshold of how much power he had over situations. He would drink excessively and hang out with different waitresses and women in the poker room. One day when Jake and I had just finished in the booth, Roger was of course drunk, and he came into the booth and got in my face. I could smell alcohol in his breath. He asked me, "How much would it cost?" Everybody has a price. I looked at Jake in shock and I pushed Roger and I told him to shut up and I left.
All right, I am Chad Holloway for PokerNews.com, and I am here with two guests, Veronica Brill and Roger Bailey, to have a discussion that stems largely from the first episode of God Mode, which is a new, YouTube series on YouTube from Veronica. Let me start right there, Veronica. Can you tell us a little bit about God Mode and what inspired you to release it?
I thought this was Roger's interview and I was just going to be a side person. But yeah, I wrote a book about it just after COVID, and I was working with like a small production company to try to put together like a little mini series on my version of the story. That ended up falling through, and I was like, you know what? Just release I'll release it on my YouTube channel, my version of what I experienced and what my thoughts are on everything. And then kind of this was just going to be the last little thing I did with it because I feel like Joey and Doug broke down the hands. But I thought there were a lot of like little things happening that weren't addressed within the hands in the background.
Sure. And I still wanted to start there because it is the catalyst for why Roger and I communicated initially about doing an interview is because he was mentioned in that first episode. And when I did talk to you, Roger, you did agree to do the interview and actually requested that Veronica, give the opportunity for Veronica to be here, which I'm glad that you accepted. So let me turn to you, Roger, and ask, obviously you were named in that first episode. Some unflattering things were said, but how did you end up receiving or how are you feeling about the episode and how it was portrayed?
This was a long time ago, right? When this stuff first came out. And there were certain feelings at that time. Actually, at the time when Stones and I agreed to separate, I didn't know any of these accusations that Veronica made. They came to light afterwards. To see what's happening now, um, it's interesting. I like how Veronica just kind of put out there the reason why she did it, because that was actually a question that I had for her. I wanted to know what her motive was, 5 or 6 years later, putting out this short series, and she explained that. So that's good. But to answer your question, Veronica, she doesn't her statements are almost statements of fact, and I kind of left them alone for a long time, knowing she felt certain way or portrayed herself in a certain way, but to bring them all back and to say the things she's saying, let's challenge them. Let's hit them face on. Let's talk about them. See if any of them are true, and that's the reason for the interview. Um, I would like to get her viewpoint on it and give her a chance to talk about it.
Well, I know when the video came out, it seems, Veronica, that you were, taking it in order, so to speak. And I actually didn't know much about the genesis of Stones Live and how it came about. So I did find that, interesting. Roger, I really wasn't that familiar with you.
Mhm.
prior and until we started to communicate. And I'm sure a lot of people were in the same boat as me because, as you mentioned, this was a long time ago. I believe it was in July of 2014 that Stone started. And then when was it that you and Stones parted ways?
The actual stream at Stones was actually called Two Pair Live. That was the stream at Stones, and it was just inside of Stones. And then about if you look into like the first 4 or 5 months, and I want to say we launched the actual stream in like December of 2015, maybe November, just some walkthroughs, and then it with my partnership with Stones lasted till about mid-April, maybe the beginning of May so maybe 5 or 6 months maximum. Um, and so the stream started under the Two Pair umbrella. Um, and so I want to say roughly 6 months to answer your question, but that's how that all started. We had a regional magazine in a poker tour, and it was okay here around Northern California. Went into Oregon a little bit, and some of my mismanagement and my bad business skills kind of made that thing go away. And then when we launched the stream, it was kind of a collaboration with the Stone staff, but under the Two Pair umbrella. And then about maybe June of 2016, it became Stones Live.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And uh, Veronica, you had said that in the video that you gave credit to Roger, saying that he was pretty passionate about poker and his business, and that he was the reason Stone's Live poker started. But then you did have some feelings towards him, saying some things like that he was, some adjectives that were used was slimy. It acted the opposite of the way he portrayed himself. A bit of a degenerate gambler. You did clarify, aren't we all a little bit? Because aren't we all a little bit? Sometimes a drunk, but that you also guys were kind of friends back then. So Veronica, I guess my question to you is, what inspired you to share those aspects, if you will, given I think God Mode is focused primarily on Mike Postle, as seen in later episodes, but as we said, the start of the stream heavily involves Roger. So I'm sure he's curious as to his inclusion and the way he was portrayed. What's your perspective on it?
Um, I guess, sorry, I'm hearing a lot of echoing. I don't know
Sorry,
if
you sound
that's
fine. You sound fine to me.
okay. Um, it might be on Roger's. Roger, do you think you can? Oh, there it is. Okay. So I originally, when I was writing this book, I spoke to many people who were writers. And I was like, I don't know how to say all of everything that I experienced. And and would it be interesting if it was just like the Wired article where everything was just a slight overview and no details were given? Because I think that the story is within the details. And I was encouraged by many people to just tell the honest truth in my experience and everything that I went through. And Roger and I were friends when it all started. He did start power tripping. And the two things that I included, which, in the grand scheme of things, of all the interactions I've had with men, weren't that bad. But unfortunately, I don't think Roger's actions align with the way he sees himself. But he was power tripping on me. He did say those things to me in the booth. Everything I've said was true. He was the reason why Stone's Live Poker was there. I think if he had stayed, there wouldn't have been cheating. Although I'm not quite sure. I think Roger and Mike Postle are friends. I'm not quite sure if he actually believes there was cheating. But I don't think that would have happened under him. But everything ended up under Justin and there ended up being cheating. But nothing I said on there was a lie. There are things that I've speculated on, and I say that I speculated, or things that I heard, and I say I heard. Some people have told me things and they didn't want their names included. So I just said I heard from this commentator, I heard from this person. But I wanted to keep all the details in there. I wanted the full story to come out. I didn't want it to just be the hands.
Let me give you opportunity, Roger, to address some of the things that she said. Saying that what was said in the booth, what she claimed in the video, were things like,
I mean, Jake
pushing.
was there. Jake was in the booth with me.
Okay. Roger, how would you respond to that?
So yeah, there's a bad echo. It goes off and on, just so you hear. Anyhow, implicating Jake in this, it's interesting, Veronica, because I reached out to Jake. I have a
Yeah,
text.
he sent me the screenshots, Roger. I saw the screenshots of what you texted. Yeah, because he's my
Very
friend. Like
okay,
I've been
good.
to his wedding, Roger. I'm his friend.
Yeah. Let me finish, please. And then you have
Implicating's not the word to use, Roger, but go ahead.
okay. Um, why didn't Jake have a comment if he showed you the screenshot? And I'm happy to share the screenshot. There's nothing bad about the screenshot. It's exactly what you said. I said I reached out to him with a professional courtesy to ask about your statement. I called him. If he's your friend, and if that actually did happen, and you don't have to speak for him, but you would think he would say something along the lines that actually did happen. Furthermore, um, Stone's management would have said something like that actually would have happened. The third point is if you really believe that happened, there would have been video proof, because we are in a casino, of you pushing me out of a booth. That didn't happen.
I pushed you out of the way. I didn't push you out of the booth. And you know
yeah,
what,
sure.
Roger, in your defense, you were drunk. So I'm
Yeah.
not surprised that you don't remember doing it.
This is definitely how you like to act and make those comments. And you can actually, while we're talking about the subject, I didn't think we were going to get to it so quickly, but talk about the lady that you tried to get to team up with you that refused.
Which lady? I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, you do know what I'm talking about. You're just denying it. And you remember calling the lady, asking her and trying to get her to team up with you and ask and say certain things about me.
What's her name? What's her name?
Um, just Veronica, you know the situation. Just
What
as
is
you have
that?
said,
But Roger, what,
yeah, sure.
First of all, what, I don't even know who you're talking about.
You do.
You won't even say her name. And
Mhm.
what does that have to do with the story, with my story?
Well, it's a very heavy accusation, and you like to champion for women, right? Which is respectable if it was genuine. But when you champion for something like that, and basically you accuse somebody of sexual harassment, potentially trying to
That's what
use
you
the
did, Roger. I
sure.
did not think that you would come here and be accountable. I was ready for you to say this, but Roger, you did that. I did not lie. Why would I lie?
Can you let me finish my point, or are you going to keep interrupting?
No, go ahead,
Yeah,
finish
go
your
ahead.
point.
Thank you. And so these things take place, and so number one, why wouldn't Jake just have your back if you're friends? And he had a week to answer, and it could have been anything. It could have been, hey, yeah, I saw it happened, it didn't, whatever. Silence speaks a lot louder. Secondly, um, you say you go to Justin, you say potentially you go to Stones about this. You don't go to police or anything like that, but you champion for women. You say, I try to ask you your price. None of this is documented. Um, and then the third point is you try to get another coworker at the time because you were working for the stream at the time to join in on your story. Okay. And none of these things pan out. Furthermore, um, there are plenty of women in poker that I've interacted with, and you could find none. You could find not one that would ever back up your story, ever. And so there,
Right, because they
that
weren't there, because it was me and Jake.
okay.
I
Well,
actually did
if
speak
you
to
don't
one
mind,
waitress. I did
yeah.
speak to one waitress
Mhm,
after this happened, and she's like, "Oh
mhm.
my gosh," he said the exact same thing to me.
Right, yeah. But the way, yeah,
So
okay,
it's
that's
kind
an
of
easy
par
thing.
for the
But let
course
me
for
ask
you.
you, so
You know,
it's not. Hey,
Roger,
Chad,
it
Yeah.
would have worked out so
put him
much
for
better for you
yeah.
if you had just come here and said, "Look, I was drunk. I don't remember. I'm really sorry if I made you feel that way." It would have been so over. But you just don't have
What
accountability. And you did do that, Roger. I'm not going to back down. You did it. I'm not, whatever you say about another woman that is false,
mhm.
that's fine, but it has nothing to do with God mode. What I said on God mode happened.
How come your friend Jake, who was there, won't say it happened?
Jake did not say it didn't happen, did
I
he? Is he
understand.
coming
No,
on here saying I'm lying? No, he's not.
no, no. But he had plenty of time to answer it. He had a text message. If somebody,
Because he
if
doesn't
what,
want to deal with you, Roger. He didn't
um,
say it didn't
that's
happen, Roger.
we're saying the same thing, correct? He did not. He did not say that. But if I had a friend under the circumstances of this with some pretty heavy accusations, it would be a standard thing to say whatever you need to say and leave it alone, right?
Is he your
But
friend?
I'm saying your friend. I'm saying your
Yeah,
friend.
but
If
is he your friend? You called him.
I called him because you discussed and you said he's right there.
And he
I was,
does and he didn't back you up.
um, would he back you up?
Yes, he would.
Okay,
But he
then
doesn't have to. I'm
no,
telling the
I would
truth.
encourage, and this is being recorded
Roger,
for Jake to
you
come
did
and
it.
back you up.
Did you
I have
actually
nothing to
call
hide.
Poker News to bring me on here to spend 30 minutes of my time
Well, you
trying
can
to
ask Chad if I
convince
did
me
that.
that this
No,
that
no, and
no,
this is the
because
exact reason, Chad.
you
Yeah.
did
When you
this.
Let
this is the
me
You
exact
did
reason.
this.
let
Okay,
me
this is
try
Chad. Hold
to
on, go
let
ahead.
me.
This is the exact reason that I said I want Veronica on the video, right?
You did request it, yes.
Correct. That's only one accusation, and if Jake ever listens to this, hears this, he's free to come on and speak about this, um, so to speak. She says he would. There are there's no proof of this, and Veronica has a history of this, um, and that's a terrible thing, you know. And I do want to say something. If you don't have other questions, if you do, we can answer those
Well,
questions. But go ahead,
Well, I just want
please.
to clarify a bit too. So anybody who may have not watched the episode, I certainly encourage you to watch it so you get a little more context. And just to clarify too, because so many people are watching God Mode because of what happened later on in the history of Stone's Live involving Mike Postle. Veronica, you are not asserting that Roger had anything to do with that, correct? He was gone by that point.
He was gone before the cheating. Roger didn't sexually harass me, touch me, anything. He was drunk. He drunkenly mumbled how much everybody has a price. I pushed him out of the way. I walked out of the booth. That was it. I didn't push him out of the room. He didn't grab me in any way. He is his the way he tries to portray himself does not match his actions, and that's fine.
How
That's
am I
fine.
portraying
He's like
myself?
that.
You have
You think
I haven't
you're
seen
saying
you
this didn't
or met
happen.
you.
You're saying this
I
didn't
haven't hung around
happen.
with you in 5 years. How am I portraying myself?
You're saying it didn't happen, and it did, Roger.
Well, and you did say in the video that you portray himself as this uber conservative guy and Christian, and that
Yeah,
acted the
and
opposite.
and he wasn't acting like that towards me. He would power trip on me. He would sit there and be like, "What if I told you you couldn't talk about poker tonight?" And I'm like,
Yes,
"What the
I
fuck are you
agree.
talking about?"
Because you shouldn't be talking about poker.
No,
Well,
you're right. I was a terrible commentator. I was, but
No, you're not
you
a
see
terrible commentator. You
why
just
was
weren't
I?
qualified enough to talk about poker. Jake was.
You're right. That is
Yes.
100%
That's
true. I
power
agree with
tripping.
you there.
That's
But
power stripping.
why?
That's
But
called
that
just
is her.
basic production.
But it's a poker show. It's a poker
Yes.
show.
And I let you
But
freely talk about whatever you wanted.
so that part is true, but the other part
Yes.
isn't for some reason.
But it no, it absolutely yeah. The idea of me pushing you and stuff, yes, and or not pushing you, but coming on you, asking you your price, absolutely not true. You know, Chad, I encourage you to ask maybe some of the people around you that you know, um, let's just few female ladies around you, if I've ever acted any appropriate with any of them, because some of them know me, believe me.
well, I will say that obviously we're not privy to your guys' history, and it dates back quite a while. We're talking, close to 10 years ago now, if the timeline is there. Um, I do have a lot of respect for Veronica for coming on, and you didn't have to this, and to you, Roger, for willing to speak as well and wanting Veronica there. I mean, clearly there is history and some maybe perhaps bad blood or what have you, because you two are obviously on opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of these accusations, and I it's
My friends, Chad, if they were if somebody was accused of what Veronica accused me, my friends would have my back. That's what I would tell you.
Okay.
And
All
I'll
right.
also go on.
Well,
No, no, it's fine. And I'll also
everything
go
I
on
said
is
is
further.
truu.
We'll
Everything I
also
said
take
is
it
true.
further. Um, many of the people that Veronica talk about and that I've seen so far, or through the stream, like we talk about the people that invented, like the commentators, Tuckman, Hansen, um, these guys, even Lon. I was single-handedly responsible for them coming to Stones. I negotiated deals with Stones. If they ever watch this, they would they can comment on that. Um, the interesting thing about all these relationships that Veronica seems to have or not have, just none of them end up well, or do they end up well? Are you friends with any of these people still?
Yeah, I'm very close with Bart. I'm very close with almost everyone, Tuckman. And what does that have to do with God mode?
The idea of God mode is based on a lot of your opinions and fabrication. Okay.
My
The
opinions and my
Yes.
experiences. Yes, 100%.
Well, I'm assuming you're talking about the cheating. I don't even know if poker wise if you're even qualified to consider if somebody's making a move or cheating or anything like that. But I'm
You're
assuming that's what
right.
you're.
You're right, which is
Yes.
why I went to the professionals.
Through your
Hey, Roger,
the
let me
videos
ask
and
you, do you think Mike cheated?
I think this. I think that Stones did everything they can possibly do to find the cheating.
Did
And
did
when
did Mike cheat? Do you think Postle
how
cheated?
how would I know that? I'm answering your question,
I mean, I think
right?
yeah. I mean, she's asking
So
a yes or
it's
no
a yes, no.
question.
I think when you accuse somebody of something, kind of like what you did me, so that's why I don't give you the proper, like you say, I did something to you. When when you make certain
You
accusations,
do you think Mike Postle cheated, Roger?
um, I'm going to answer the question how I want, or you don't have to ask the question.
Yes, no. It's yes, no.
Is there proof that he cheated?
Yes.
What's the proof? Tell me.
Well,
It's funny.
I can
What's the
see
proof?
exactly I can see exactly who I'm talking to right now.
There's
What's the
so there is obviously a hotly contested within the poker community, right? I would say the
hmm
majority of people do believe that he did do something nefarious in
hmm
cheating. There
hmm
are those who believe that he didn't.
hmm
Let me just ask a question that was posed earlier. And are you friendly, or do you personally know Mike Postle? Just to set the context a little bit too.
I could tell you this that me and Mike kind of knew each other just from the area. Mike was a solid poker player in the area, but before the stream happened, I mean, he won Player of the Year for Annie Up. He went. You see him at tournaments. You see him at a cash game, but that's as far as I knew with Mike. Um, his one of his best friends were really close, so I knew him in that way. But Mike really became popular on the stream once I was gone. Um, so and now I'm friendlier with Mike now than I ever was in the past, and I'm thinking the reason for that is because of the connection with Stones and all that. But my opinion of whether Mike cheated is strictly that, whether it's yes or no, that's my opinion. The proof that is there and what Stones did, and I, by no means do I have Stones back. I mean, it's not like I'm friendly with Stones. It's not like I have Mike's back. I'm friendly with Mike. What I do know is just the facts is that they did everything they could possibly do to find the cheating, and I think that was proven in the lawsuits and things like that. So, to answer your question, yes, I am friendly with Mike. I have his number. We could talk at any given time, but have I sat down and had lunch with him in 10 years? The answer is no.
Let me ask, for one with God Mode Veronica, I believe as we're recording this, there's 3 episodes out. Do you have a plan for how many more episodes will be coming out?
The fourth one's coming out on Wednesday and fifth one on Saturday. There might be up to 10 episodes, but I'm not quite sure.
Will Roger be mentioned in any of
No,
the future
no.
ones? All right. Uh,
Roger is a very small part of the story. So
It's
it's
not
he
a small
was,
part when you accuse
I
somebody of the
I
things you
do
accuse me of.
I do have to give Roger credit for starting Stones Live. Without him, there would be no Stones Live. And it's really unfortunate because Mike and Justin ruined Stones Live because it was a really cool live stream.
um,
If you were to ask me, Veronica ruined Stones Live.
well, it
Well,
certainly
I
sounds.
guess we can see where he's aligned.
I mean,
We
With
might
it's
as
what?
well just bring Mike Postle on while we're at it, you know?
Because I think a certain way of you means that I'm aligned with Mike Postle. Is that what you're saying?
I think what you said, everyone will clearly understand how you're aligned.
No, well, let me make myself clear. The reason I think you ruined Stone's live is because of the lies and of the bad heart and of the attention that you desire at the willingness to do whatever it takes to get that attention, excuse me. Um, that's why you ruined Stone's life. And you did it without any care or concern, and you would cover it up with certain things. That's why you got rid of me to get to Justin. You throw this poor, no, 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 it's funny because it's true, Veronica. I remember the time when you asked me, you said, Roger, I want to do a 1-3 game. And I said, Veronica, that's not what we're doing. And just so you know, Veronica, it's been many years. And the reason that answer was no at that time is because it wasn't only from me, it was from the people that I report to, which was Stones, and they didn't want that 1-3 limit game at the time. So I wasn't power tripping. But the point was, you got rid of me to get to Justin. I remember the day when we were getting ready to do a stream and I said something to you and you basically told me that I don't talk to you no more. I talk to Justin. I remember that day and that was kind of an eye opener for me. But then when when Mike became the star of the show that you wanted, okay, whether he cheated or he did not cheat, um, you tend to get rid of Justin Kuraitis. And let me tell you what you've done to this poor man, Justin. You destroyed his life and you don't care because you don't care whose life you destroy.
Justin destroyed his own life, and
No, Justin
you
did,
know
and
what? I'll
Justin
just
doesn't
tell you,
deserve that. No, 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 no. And
nothing I said was a lie. And Chad,
it
honestly,
is.
I really did not think I was going to be on here with this Mike Postle sympathizer and blaming me for ruining the live
Hmm.
stream.
Hmm.
Literally, Justin and Mike Postle cheated. Roger, you can't even
Hmm.
admit to the cheating.
Why
And
do you keep going
I
back to
just,
that? Well, why do you keep going
and
back to that?
that whatever you say has
Hmm.
nothing to do with anything that I'm doing because I told the truth. You did what you did. I actually was going to try to be, it's really hard to try to be nice to you, Roger. You're exactly who I said you were.
Hmm.
And
Am I
I'm
drunk right
I'm
now?
I'm got no, but you're a Mike
Okay.
Postle sympathizer and
Why?
friend, and
Where do you get that from? That I'm a
I
Mike Postle
so I
sympathizer.
just
Chad, do
Chad,
you get that?
I
I
just can't
Yeah, she's
continue this
going. This is what she
in
does
good
when
faith.
she
I
get
understand. Let me take control
Yeah,
of this real quick,
Yeah,
and
go ahead. Hmm.
we will wind this down.
Yeah.
I obviously there's irreconcilable differences. They are on very different ends of the spectrum. Where you know you think that Veronica caused the demise of Stone's live, and where others would say that it was the cheating scandal. I will say, and I've often said this long before this interview for years, that if they happen to be listening or it gets back to them, that Mike and Justin, I'm happy to sit down with them and have a conversation. I think that this is, yeah, it's one of the, like, I honestly didn't know what to expect either. I've never spoken with both of you at the same time. I wasn't around back in these days, and so I didn't know what to expect, if it was going to be contentious as it clearly is, or if there would have been.
But I disagree, Chad. It's not contentious. Veronica might be getting a little upset. I'm not upset at all. This is so far in the rear view mirror for me. But the idea of someone challenging Veronica uh, is, I guess, not appropriate for her. But this man, Justin, and if you want to call it me defending Postle, which has, I guess there's no Postle if there's no Justin, according to Veronica, and how that fix, 50-50 or however she laid out, the whole cheating scandal, so to speak. Um, but you know what? No one's ever actually, if anyone, Chad, should be upset with a man just named Justin Kuraitis, you're looking at him. He was not very favorable to me when it come to the stream, and Veronica going to him in her own admission saying she went to Justin about what she alleges I did. And Justin played a big part of securing him a bigger role within his organization and eliminating my role, which, okay, it is what it is. But the Justin Kuraitis I know, Chad, was not the man that this woman is painting. And believe me, I've known her a lot. I've known him a lot longer than Veronica knew him. The question I would have regarding the whole Justin Kuraitis, Mike Postle thing, when it comes to Justin only, Believe me, I'm not talking about Mike. I'm not qualified to talk about Mike. There are much better poker players in this world that can make their decision. I'm just talking about the facts when it comes to Postle and the investigation. But when it comes to Justin Kuraitis, the man gave everything he possibly could to his job, to be better at his job. And the only question I have when it comes to Justin, because I guess this cheating scandal, you can definitely correct me, but I think it happened over the course of a year and a half or something. I could be wrong, but it wasn't over a day or a month. It was an extended period. And then it came out that maybe this Apostle won 300,000, or then it came out to be 150. My point is this: what gain did Justin Kuraitis have in doing this? If he plays such a role, and this woman wants to just bury him and bury him year after year, what gain financially, even if it is $100,000 over the course of the year, does this man have to ruin his whole reputation and career when he's already making $100,000? Furthermore, the last point I want to make is I know the guy. I'm not necessarily a big fan of his, of what he did to me personally, but he wanted to be the next Matt Savage. That would come out of his mouth. He worked harder than anyone in that casino. That's all I'm saying. And here this man has to be buried time and time again. Why? Why do I believe he has to be buried again? Let me tell you so I'm very clear. Because this woman, Veronica, didn't get her way. And when you look at the history of what Veronica does, she doesn't get her way. She makes her move.
Let me jump in
I
here.
wasn't even living in Sacramento for almost a year before
Correct.
I went public. Why would I be jealous of Mike? You're like, the stuff that you say is like a 14-year-old would make this stuff up.
Mhm.
And also, you don't even think Mike cheated. And even if you
I wasn't even
said
talking
Mike
about
did,
Mike the whole
even if
time.
you
I was just talking about
even if you
Justin.
said today that Mike cheated and Justin didn't help him, I would ask you, how the hell did he cheat if it wasn't for Justin's help? You weren't even there.
I do want to say this.
You're entitled to your opinion, but I'm telling this story from my experience. And nothing that you say today is going to make me change my mind about what I saw and what I experienced. And
I'm
if
not
you're
trying
a
to.
Mike Postle sympathizer, good for you, Roger. I'm not surprised.
It does seem like nobody's, position or thoughts or opinions are going to change from this. I do want to say this. You did mention, Roger, that nobody really challenges Veronica. I don't necessarily agree. I think she has been challenged a bit over the years, and I got to give her credit that she, when challenged, does step up. She didn't have to be here today. She didn't have to accept the invitation, and she, didn't know what to expect. I didn't give either of you any advance questions or anything like that. We all came into this relatively cold, so I want to give credit there. And on the flip side, though, too, like Roger, you're the only one who has been associated with Stones Live that I believe has spoken really publicly. You weren't there during the times of the cheating allegations, but even to talk to somebody who was tangentially associated with it by starting Stones Live, I give you credit for speaking up. I can't say the same though about Justin or Mike. I don't know either on a personal level, but they've had some serious allegations made against them. When you had such allegations, your inclination was to come to talk about it, whereas they have never publicly addressed it. And so, take that, whoever's listening, watching, what they will from that. I think there's two varying perspectives on it. Obviously, you hold one, and Veronica holds another. And I'm sure there are people out there that, in a very politicized, polarized climate, are taking certain sides. So,
If I may, I think it might be polarized climate at one point in time. Quite frankly, I think people are just fed up with it 5 or 6 years later. I do think it may entertain some of the social media following and people that just enjoy poker and stories. And listen, I give Veronica a lot of credit for saying why she put out these videos. But after these videos, I would hope that Veronica leaves this alone, maybe even for her own benefit in advancing in whatever career she wants to do.
I
But
agree with that, Roger. I am going to
yes,
leave it alone after this.
right. So very good, and as you should.
all
I
right. Well,
agree.
it seems to be one of the few things that is agreed upon in this talk. So maybe we'll put a pin in it there.
I think I agreed with Roger 3 or 4 times
Okay,
today. I
that's
just
fair.
have to say.
And I do give you both, credit. Obviously, you neither of you had to do this. And quite frankly, when I, reached out to Roger, I didn't necessarily expect that you would. And then likewise to you, Veronica, I didn't expect it either. So I'm not sure, if we accomplished a whole lot other than to get some more information out there and to, dive a bit deeper into the episode and. Yeah, I don't really have any more questions. I don't know if either of you have anything you want to say, but I'll give you each an opportunity.
Yeah, let
No,
me
I
take that
think,
up. Go ahead, please,
yeah,
Veronica. Sorry.
go ahead, Roger. You first.
Okay. I take the opportunity to the accusation that Veronica made to me is it's defamation, really. But and she's libeled me a certain way. But if Jake is such your friend because you said it, I would highly encourage Jake to reach out to me. I'd also encourage Jake to take any video platform that he likes and say his viewpoint. Um, that's it. Because why do I say that? Is because you said Jake was there, and I would be interested in hearing him, um, and actually knowing why he didn't defend you or say anything about that in the last week when I reached out to him as a courtesy.
Because he doesn't want to deal with you, Roger, and he's tired of everything. He's
Mhm.
tired of talking about the story. He's tired of everything.
Mhm.
Listen, yeah, it was nice catching up, and everything I said in God mode was based off of my true experience. If I didn't experience it, I say it was hearsay. If I if I am I speculating on something, I say I'm speculating, but what I said was true. I'm not taking it back. I will not be
Mhm.
saying anything on social media about you, Roger. I won't be bringing up your name anymore. After this is done, I'm closing the book on it. I appreciate you wanting me to be here. I think that's as much as I extend it. I think you're right. I'm not a very qualified, good poker player. I shouldn't have been doing commentary. I was shit in the booth. I agree with you on that. So,
If Yeah, sure. We could leave it there. Um, that's fair enough.